What's the stupidest thing you ever said that genuinely made you question your intelligence? My husband and I were driving through Mishawaka on a rainy afternoon. I noticed so many Padiddles cars with one headlight tower, and I said I wondered why there were always so many on rainy days. My husband patiently, but with the obvious tone of "you're lucky you're cute," walked me through the logic of 1. It's daytime, so there are more cars out. 2. It's raining, so everyone's lights are on. Of course you're going to see more Padiddles. This was years ago and he still gives me shit. Fun fact, my car is currently a Padiddle, and a bulb blew during a rainstorm. I'm learning sign language so I can introduce myself to my friend's deaf partner and have some conversation. I mentioned to my friend how I plan on spelling out my name, but then doing a sign for something that sounds exactly like it. She tells me that a name sign is given to you. You don't make one for yourself. I further explain that I don't intend to use the sign as my name sign, just that I'll use it once so he knows what the spelled out letters sounds like. She points out that he doesn't know what that word sounds like anyhow. My manager's manager asked me to ballpark the percentage of time I was spending on each of my 3 projects. I confidently told him 75 on Project A, 25 on Project B, and 25 on Project C. I heard my cubicle neighbor laughing, didn't immediately click that she was laughing at me. Manager's manager paused a moment, then in a very kind and patient voice like he was speaking to a Labrador with a learning disability, "So, I'd like those numbers to add up to 100. Can you try again?" Then it dawned on me, edit typo. He absolutely phenomenal brainwave. Hey, wouldn't it be cool if this was like a game that was way bigger with a big net, and you have to run around to get the ball, and though wait, that's just tennis. Oh man, once the cute neighbor girl up the street and called me and said her parents were out of town, and she was a little tipsy because she had started drinking wine. She tried on her little black dress and the zipper got stuck. Could I come over there and help her unzip it? Well, I didn't want to walk down the street for that dumb reason. I tried to talk her through it, complete with getting annoyed that she kept insisting that I just come over. It wasn't till years later I realized these 2 gems aren't mine. They came from my little sister, an absolutely brilliant woman. While on vacation in Lake Tahoe, I saw some skydivers and pointed them out. She saw them and then asked, "Wow, how are they gonna get down from there?" But the best was when we were in Cabo San Lucas. She saw a man instruct his dog to sit while he went into a store, and the obedient animal complied. Stunned, she turned to me and said, "Oh my God, that dog understands Spanish." In winter in Michigan, getting ready to leave for work, I couldn't find my car keys. I knew they had to be home because I drove home the day before. When I realized I was going to be late, I called my boss to tell him I'd be there as soon as I find my keys. I finished the conversation with, "Oh, my car's been running for a while warming up. I need to go turn it off. He just said I should probably look for my keys in the car while I'm out there." This one still haunts me. I once was having surgery and in walks the anesthesiologist to ask me questions and see if I had any for him. I said, "Just 2. Do people dream?" And he responds, "Not usually." "What's your other question?" And I said, "Is it normal to be afraid I won't wake up?" And he goes, "I promise you will." Me, well, I bet I won't. I bet I won't. I bet the anesthesiologist I was going to die. Like a fucking idiot. I started watching Formula 1. My friend was telling me about rules and stuff, and she explained that the first lap in a Grand Prix runs before the race itself, so the drivers can warm up the car's tires. I said, "Oh, I see. So the racing only starts after the last driver arrives, right?" And her father-in-law looked at me with the most shocked eyes and asked me if I was being for real. When I said that, I deserved it, honestly. Recently I rattled off something I'd read on the internet to my mum. We were looking at military style clothes that have the button straps on the shoulders. I said it was really neat that those were for carrying your bags. She looked at me and said they were for holding your bars if you were high-ranking. I don't know why I believed even for an instant that shoulder straps would be able to carry 100+ pound bags. Drunk man after winning a large amount of money at the poker table comes into the restroom feeling generous and announces this round of pee is on him. Needless to say, that's not what he meant, but everyone understood the words he just said. Facebombs and snickers ensue. That man cringed at the words that came out of his mouth. No worries though. No pee was directed toward the man and he is doing fine. Not me, to be fair, though I did steal it afterwards. He water is very wet, she meant cold, but we don't let her forget, and sometimes I slip that out when I am with my friends at a water park, etc. So I do feel stupid sometimes because nobody gets the joke. I once asked my dad, how do we have all these top-down pictures of the Milky Way if there's no way a spaceship could leave the Milky Way for billions of years? He, a mathematician, looked at me, a grad school graduate, as if I was the dumbest person he'd ever met. It did not occur to me that these were pictures of other galaxies that we assume look like the Milky Way. I was 25. It's not so much what I said as to what I did, and how long it took to figure out. I print screened an app in Windows, left it, then tried to close it by clicking the X. Even though it was just an image, like I seriously kept clicking. My friend finally said, "You're so cute," and it finally hit me. Not my finest moment. I honestly wonder how long it would have taken me on my own. Years ago, a co-worker and I were discussing how many Japanese people apparently have a KFC dinner for Christmas. We then wondered what do they do for Thanksgiving, and began attempting to Google it. Spent quite a few minutes trying to search it up, remarking to each other in confusion that we couldn't find anything at all. I then realized how incredibly stupid we were. I've said all kinds of stupid shit just today alone. The stupidest thing I've ever heard someone say that they truly believed. I'll post here because when he said it, part of me felt like I had been taught this as well, regardless of how dumb it truly was. It went something like this: you can stretch your small intestines all the way across the US, coast to coast. I don't know if this counts because, praise the Lord, I did not say it aloud. The scene, me, a college senior still living in a dorm, doing my weekly snacks and root beer run at the local wall mart. The thought, man, how do people with a whole family grocery shop? Like, what do you do if you buy more than you can fit in your arms? Carts. That's what carts are for. Having lunch with co-workers a few years back, I got caught up working, so was among the last to eat. Went back to the break room, grabbed the remaining sub, turned to a co-worker and said, "I don't think this is mine. There's some other name I can't even read written on a wrapper. It was my name. I was holding the sub upside down." Co-worker laughed and laughed. A friend invited me to stay at his parents' condo in a ski resort area for a few days as part of a friend trip. I noticed some fake flowers in a vase and commented how tacky fake flowers are. Then spent the rest of the evening in a hot flash wishing I could push the words back into my mouth. Talk about rude. I still cringe about it over a decade later. Non-binary, so what are trans people? Like, is a trans woman a woman who identifies as a man or vice versa? They looked at me in horror and shock before bursting out laughing and falling on the floor. I just stood there till I asked myself the question. All that came out of my mouth was wait. Oh, I'm an idiot. My high school had an exchange program with a school in Ireland. When they arrived, we all took great pride in showing them things that were exclusive to the US. One day, I thought to myself, potatoes were cultivated by the Inca in South America, meaning that they originate from this side of the Atlantic. Do they have potatoes in Ireland? A secondary school classmate and his twin were involved in a major road accident, so we, the classmates, visited them at the hospital. A had bandages all over his body, limbs on medical tractions, metal rods sticking out of his leg, and standing next to his bed. I asked him, "Is it painful?" Both he and his mom gave me the stink eye. Ordered a burger with no onions. Then onions rings because I don't like onions. The look the waitress gave me was priceless. She said, "I think you maybe just don't like onions raw." Yeah. That's what I said. I don't like onions. Argued with her for 5 minutes and couldn't understand why she was questioning if I wanted onions on that burger. I was maybe 4 or 5 at the time. We're watching Lord of the Rings and Boromir dies. At this point I turned to my mother and asked Mom, do people actually sacrifice themselves to make movies? She began to laugh at me. I could understand that the orcs were fake and the fighting was fake, but the death, that's impossible, it has to be real. I was maybe 4 or 5 at the time. We're watching Lord of the Rings and Boromir dies. At this point I turned to my mother and asked Mom, do people actually sacrifice themselves to make movies? She began to laugh at me. I could understand that the orcs were fake and the fighting was fake, but the death, that's impossible, it has to be real. Lol. One time me and my fiancé were arguing about our intelligence levels, and as a joke he says, yeah, well, I bet you don't even know who the first Prime Minister was. We're both from Canada. And with 100 pure confidence I loudly declared it was Thomas Edison by accident, and he looked at me like, no, it wasn't. Was visiting my boyfriend and staying in a hotel. He wasn't with me that morning, so I went and got the mediocre continental breakfast. I couldn't find the tongues to grab an egg, and I saw a server and said to her, ma'am, do you have those things? You know, that go clink clink and grab stuff? I was not drunk, hungover, high, or exhausted. Drive had been my doctor since I was 4. Asked me if I wanted to know the results of my pregnancy test. I said yes, I was positive the vomiting was an illness since it wasn't just morning. That all day long I'd even wake in the middle of the night to vomit. He said it's positive. I stared at him a moment and asked, does that mean yes or no?